Hey, this is Mike Diercksen from Proactive, and you're listening to the Building Bite podcast. Tune in as we spotlight our guest, Bret Bush, co-founder of Insight Risk Technologies. Our episode today is focused on risk mitigation, building on incremental success. For more information on this episode and others, please check out the Building Bite, www.buildwithproactive.com. Welcome to the Building Bite podcast, a podcast for construction contractors, owners, and insurance professionals, where you will hear from the experts key topics to help you be successful. My name is Mike Diercksen, the manager of marketing business development here at Proactive. Today, we're joined by our guest, a friend of the podcast, Bret Bush. Bret is the co-founder of Insight Risk Technologies. Bret, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me back. Really excited.
Yeah, we're so thrilled to have you back on the show today. It's been a wild ride. I've seen you along the way at a couple industry events between our last episode and this episode. But, for those of our audience who maybe didn't get a chance to listen to the first episode, could you give us a little bit of that background for the listeners about your career path, kind of how you got to where you are today, co-founding that Insight Risk Technologies?
Yeah, thanks. So just a quick Reader's Digest version because it's pretty diverse, but about a third of my 30 plus years in this business has been on the insurance broking side. So I was out there hustling for business and cold calling and working on getting new business in the door. I spent another third of my career on the construction operations side. I ran the operations for a large general contractor in the Chicago area for almost 12 years. Purchasing insurance, handling claims, legal, HR, operations, manpower, all that. So I understand the construction company side of this as well. And then the last third has been on the insurance company side, which I've really enjoyed getting that perspective, having the opportunity to work at one of the most innovative and prestigious IoT innovation teams at Hartford Steam Boiler, and then being one of the co-founders of the IoT Innovation Lab at the Hartford Insurance Company. Was a great experience and laid the foundation for what came to be Insight Risk Technologies, which is how can we use Internet of Things technologies to help prevent claims, disruptions, losses to our clients' construction projects and their properties.
Yeah, no, Bret, you have such a wealth of experience kind of sitting at the various seats at the same table. So it gives you this really great insight into these kind of topics. So without further ado, we'll dive into the main topic of today, which is risk mitigation, building on incremental success. Now, Bret, when we last spoke, we talked about your IoT sensor technology, how that was making an impact, not just for the construction process, but the entire life cycle of the building as well. So true to the title, you and your team are not done there. You're building on that success. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's next for Insight Risk?
Yeah, that's been one of the pleasant surprises. So we have focused in the beginning primarily on the construction side of insurance, so builder's risk, as you mentioned. And what we found is a lot of times, more than 50% of the time, our customers or our customers' clients all want to understand this technology and use it post-construction. So we've had to pivot a little bit and be more open to helping and assisting our clients and the eventual property owners with implementing this IoT technology to help them prevent losses after the construction has been completed. So that's been great. And then what then again developed out of that is because we don't currently write property insurance, although it's on our roadmap, because we know this technology can help reduce property losses, is being a pure consultative technology consultant for anyone that wants to try and utilize and implement this technology to prevent losses on their projects or on their properties, even though we may not have an insurable interest. And so that's been the fascinating part, is how entrenched in the entire stakeholder side of this we've become. Everybody's sort of leaning on us. I know when we talked initially in the first go round, we were mainly focused on fire resistive commercial projects, and we're still doing very well in that area. And what has developed out of that too is using our expertise in the wood frame commercial construction market is too. So we're not doing any residential or single family residential, but on the commercial wood frame construction projects, this technology works. Water damage is still the leading cause of loss. And it's led to opportunities in that wood frame construction market where we've expanded into things like site security and how we could prevent fire losses on those wood frame projects as well too. So just a whole blossoming of our offering has been really wonderful.
Yeah, no, and we've spoken with several people on the underwriting side who have chronically mentioned that wood frame is a difficult risk to insure, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that could go wrong with it. So beefing up that risk mitigation strategy and the technology around that is only going to help the industry as a whole. And so moving on there, I think a lot of people have experienced different forms of loss with this, whether it's a personal or professional life, when it comes to water damages. So can you tell us, is there a real-time application of the technology you guys are looking to use, and how does it help prevent those types of losses?
Yeah, I mean, if you start with just the basic, coverage or exposure mitigation that you can use, which is where we start with every customer, just if we can detect water and monitor for temperature changes, that's a
Mm-hmm.
big help. There are other levels of water damage prevention technology that we utilize, like flow monitoring technology to monitor the water flow within pipes, and then also the ability to shut off pipes when there is some sort of an anomaly, like a burst
Mm-hmm.
pipe or a leak of some, being able to electronically and remotely shut off that valve, which is the highest level of protection that you can attain. So all of those technologies are, we're using those applications on the projects, depending on the type of project and the type of coverage that the owners and contractors want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you a great example of how that very basic coverage technology can work is we had a project in Boston, office
Mm-hmm.
building being converted to a life sciences project. And we installed the technology on the project during the renovation. Project was getting close to finish, probably 85, 90% completed.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a huge wind and rainstorm that blew through the area, and it blew open one of the roof hatches. And we had placed the sensors near this area just in case something like that did happen. And it was pouring rain, and it caught the water. The water accumulated. The sensor caught it. They were able to get someone out there and clean up the mess before it became what could have been a very, very large loss because of the completion
Mm-hmm.
status of the building and the amount of very valuable equipment that was in that project. So, having these sensors in those strategically located places is a great, great way to prevent a loss from happening if it were a temperature issue, but also to mitigate something that could happen when an event does occur.
Yeah, I mean that's a powerful example, and we had talked offline. I mean, the power and the ability to clean up a puddle or to kind of take care of something at its infancy and say, okay, we close the hatch, we damage control, just preventing that from spiraling into the we don't know, right, the what if scenarios. There's
Yeah.
something certainly powerful about being able to do that. And so are there any other types of projects that you guys are kind of getting into now? I mean, I know that you've been in that construction space, but what other kind of ventures are you guys exploring?
Yeah, I mean, everything from, very unique renovation type projects. We were awarded the insurance for the renovation of the Ellis Island
Mm,
Immigration Museum, which is a historical project, very sensitive, very important to the history of our country. And we have a wonderful video on our website at insightrisktech.com. If you want to visit that, it's about a 5-minute video that
mhm,
talks to the insurance company, the owner. That's been a wonderful project. We're definitely getting involved in completed projects, hospitals, warehouses, industrial, certainly multifamily, where they've had some issues in the past and they're not sure
mhm,
how to address those exposures. And we've been very consultative in introducing them to different types of technologies because
mhm,
there are a number of different technologies and a number of different vendors out there that
mhm.
are doing this, and we vet those and we test the technology to make sure that they can do what they claim that they can do. So yeah, I mean, we're getting involved in almost every type of project that you could imagine.
Yeah, that Ellis Island sounds really interesting, especially I can only imagine the artifacts and the historical nature of that, right? The existing the finished projects, where you're not only just dealing with a construction site, but a construction site within an operational structure, right? Like
Yeah.
there I can see there's a ton of application to that, hospitals, historical sites such as that. So that's definitely an interesting space, but it definitely makes sense, right? The need to prevent against water intrusion and just making sure that everything's on the up and up there.
Yeah, and everything we do is very collaborative. Of course, we have expertise and years of experience in doing this, and so we have a good idea when we go to a construction site or if we go to a property on where we believe that the sensors should be placed and located. But
Mm-hmm.
in true fashion, no one knows the project or the property better than the people that are there on site. And so we
Mm-hmm.
work very closely with them to make sure that the areas are covered that they're concerned about. And so to your point, while we were at Ellis Island, they suggested and showed us where they were storing a lot of the artifacts when they moved them
Mm-hmm.
out of the exhibit that they were
Right.
renovating into a storage area. And they said, hey, we should probably put a sensor in here. And we
Mm-hmm.
did. And so we were able to monitor that area for them. And that gives them great peace of mind, knowing that there's something in there, keeping an eye on that stuff that is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine some of the artifacts that Ellis Island has retained and they put on display in those exhibits. And we actually, we've had some situations where there was a roof leak and they didn't know
Mm-hmm.
about it, and a rainstorm came through and it caught water near a very expensive electrical panel that could have caused some problems, and they were able to get to it, repair it, and
Mm-hmm.
and prevent further damage down the line that they wouldn't have caught without that technology being there. So just excellent opportunities to give peace of mind to the property owner, to the construction site team, that they can look at their mobile device and see what's going on
Yeah.
their project anytime, 24/7.
Yeah, no, that's a powerful thing. And so when we last spoke, yeah, you had mentioned that the technology, right, it had a life beyond just the policy and the construction phase. So are you guys just specifically using this technology with the policies you're writing, or is the technology kind of its own entity as well?
Yeah, it's become its own entities. So through that expansion of our business model,
Mm-hmm.
we've become very consultative to help anyone that's interested. We've had a number of carriers that have come to us. In
Mm-hmm.
some instances, they might be considered competitors, although might be in a different line of business or something like that. But
Sure.
those carriers have come to us and said, "Hey, we really like what you're doing, and can you help us?" And we absolutely can. And so we help with everything from the design of the solution and the requirements that should be in place for certain types of projects, whether it's wood frame or fire resistive or a property
Mm-hmm.
project or a renovation project, which is completely different from a new construction project, right? Different requirements, different ways to address the exposures there. And so we're consultative on that. And then when it comes to the implementation of technology, we've been able to, use our white glove service, our secret sauce,
Mm-hmm.
as we stay here at Insight, to make sure that everything goes smoothly, that it's a positive customer experience, and that the technology is doing what it's supposed to do, which is it's a tool for
Mm-hmm.
the people that manage these properties, that manage these construction sites. It's not the end all be all. We understand
Mm-hmm.
that people, it's still a people business, and people have to do
Right.
things, and people build things, and they have to respond. But if we can give them a tool that can give them some peace of mind, but also alert them when something does go wrong, everybody wants that. Every company, every
Mm-hmm.
contractor, every owner developer that we've worked with, since the inception of Insight Risk, has just been thrilled with
Mm-hmm.
how this all works. And that's their biggest unknown, is how is this all going to work together? And when they see how it all works together, they're all in. They want it. They want it enterprise wide. And so we help them roll that out enterprise wide as well.
Yeah, these are not problems or challenges that age well, right? You want to get there quick, you want to resolve it right away, and the more informed your team can be, like you said, it's on your phone, right? It's an app. You can get a notification. The quicker you can resolve those things and really lead
Yeah.
to a better process.
Yep, 100%. I love what you said again when we were talking offline, is I'd rather clean up 100 pools of water than one
Yep,
giant, water damage where somebody walks in on Monday morning and there's water everywhere, and it's because, something happened on Friday night at midnight and no one was there to see what was going on. So yeah, 100%.
exactly. Exactly. And you just don't know, right? If that's in the stairwell and someone slips and falls, I mean, it doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
just have to be the builder's risk coverage, right? It could be workers' comp. It could be so many different things. You just want to have a clean and safe environment for all the people involved there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, Brett, this has been a great discussion as always, and we really thank you for your time and your expertise. As we did last time, we always like to leave our audience with three key takeaways. So, keeping in mind that our audience is primarily made of contractors, risk professionals, brokers, what do you think those key three takeaways should be for this episode?
Yeah, I think that's important. I love that you guys do that, and so try to put a lot of thought into that. I think first and foremost is stay on top of the technology. It's constantly evolving.
Hmm.
There's new stuff out there that's exciting, that's becoming more affordable. I know
Hmm.
price was a big obstacle in a lot of instances, and so that those obstacles are coming down. Certainly, make sure we get all the stakeholders to the table. This is not a one-man
Hmm.
band by any means. It takes a team of people. So the contractor, the subcontractors, the owner, the developer, the insurance carrier, the insurance
Hmm.
carrier's loss control personnel. All those people need to be at the table to help make sure that this is successful. And again, you got to have someone like Insight Risk that's sort of the conductor of the band. There's
Hmm.
no doubt everybody wants to try and do this, but unless you have the right person leading the charge, it's going to go off the rails at some point. And we're happy to do
Hmm.
that. We're here. We're a resource to people. We're happy to share what we've learned and what we know and be transparent. Because education awareness is the level we're still at with this stuff.
Hmm.
It's not common. So
Right.
educating and raising people's awareness is a big part of getting this in the right direction for sure.
Absolutely. And, it's a through line we hear all the time. And you mentioned it earlier on the show. It's a people business, right? I mean,
Yeah.
technology is great, but it's the people you surround yourself with, the team that you work with. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to make or break the success, right?
Yeah.
What about an action item, Brett? If our listeners are hearing this and maybe it's the first time they're coming across this and they're going, this makes a lot of sense, but where do I go? Where do I start? What do you think that first step should be for them?
Yeah, I think, you've got to define what problem you're trying to solve. So,
Hmm.
where's the pain? Where's the exposure? What are you really trying to prevent from happening or what are you trying to mitigate? Okay. So, whatever that might be, and I've worked in work comp, I've worked in general liability, I've worked in property, construction, it doesn't matter. The first thing we always did is say, okay, what's the problem here? And then, okay, we've defined the problem. Now, is there an Internet of Things technology out there that can help us manage this exposure better? And going to an expert, like us or one of our vendor partners, we have some very good,
Hmm.
high quality, knowledgeable vendor partners that we utilize. We're not doing everything ourselves. We use
Hmm.
third parties to help us do all this stuff. And having them involved and making sure that they understand the problem and then moving forward with whether it be a pilot or some sort of an implementation to
Hmm.
test it and try it out. That's what you need to be doing. Like, do it now because we're not far away from this stuff being required on most property projects, most
Hmm.
construction projects, eventually, and it works. Like that's the thing I tell people is, yeah, it does work when implemented correctly. This stuff can
Right.
work. So that's what I would do. Define the problem,
Hmm.
find a good partner, make sure you've got some technology that can solve the problem you're trying to solve, not some pie in the sky idea, but something that can actually do the job, and then try it out.
Great advice. So, Brett, before we let you go here, as always, rapid fire round. What's next for Insight Risk Technologies? Is there a new peril or is there a new technology you guys are looking to explore as you continue to grow?
Yeah, great question. So right now, we're really excited about preventing fires in wood frame projects. And so
Hmm.
some of the technologies that are out there, sort of non-camera site security
Hmm.
solutions, we're researching those very closely. There's a lot of excitement around rate of rise
Hmm.
sensors and how we can implement those to help as well too. So that's some of the stuff that we're excited about right now. we see some of the capabilities of this technology. Again, to your point from the very beginning of this is, what's the life cycle of this stuff? Can it be
Mm-hmm.
used post construction? And what are other areas that we can use this in? We talked to a vendor just recently who's using some fire prevention technologies on Navy ships, and we're like, wow, that sounds really interesting because you can't have a fire on a Navy ship. So
No.
can that be utilized in the construction space? And we think we're pretty sure that it can be. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the stuff, like staying on top of the innovation. The newest technologies are coming out. There's some really cool sensors that are coming out that are paper thin, and
Mm-hmm.
and they do a number of different sensing
Yeah.
capabilities. So that kind of stuff is really what we're excited about and what's new and what's coming for us.
Very exciting stuff. And so it's been nearly a year since our last conversation, Brett. Where do you think the market is struggling with this tech adoption, right? Are you seeing improvements within the market, or what's it kind of looking like between then and now?
We're seeing improvements for sure. Incremental. Our insurance broker partners are definitely getting on board, and they're the
Mm-hmm.
conduit of information to, the ultimate users. So that's been great. We've really done a lot of work, a lot of legwork around educating our broker partners, and they're getting the message, and their clients are saying, yes, I've been interested in this for a while. Nobody's been able to answer these questions for us. So yeah, incremental improvements. We'd like to see a lot more. I think
Mm-hmm.
to some extent, I think the insurance industry is going to force it on some people, like they've done
Mm-hmm.
with other types of technologies, other type of loss prevention practices. So I think you're going to see it being pushed more from the insurance company side. We're happy to facilitate that, and we like to see that because anything that reduces losses eventually is going to reduce premiums and hopefully
Right.
reduce costs. Insurance is a big cost for these property owners and project owners. So yeah, if we can reduce those that cost of risk, that'd be great.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the last question here. But in that looking ahead, and you mentioned the regulations could be coming, and kind of maybe the carriers are pushing this, but where do you see the future of tech adoption in the construction industry? Is this something, 5 to 10 years from now that's going to be, boilerplate, it's got to be on every project, or what do you think is kind of the future path for this?
Yeah, I think within 5 years it'll be mandatory on every project. I think what's encouraging is that the younger people are coming up and getting into key positions in construction companies and
Hmm.
owner developer companies and insurance companies as well too. And they are much more, tech savvy and willing to try and adopt new and innovative technologies. So I think that's a big plus. It's going to take
Hmm.
some time for that to, get through the system. In the meantime, I think the insurance companies, just because of the way losses are, they'll continue to push it. But I think the adoption will accelerate when we get the right people in those decision maker positions that say, "Oh
Hmm.
yeah, I'm familiar with this tech or this type of tech, and I'm a big believer, and this should be on every project we do." We had a client, talk to us that had a large loss,
Hmm.
and the president of the company, when we explained to him the technologies that we could use to prevent those large losses from happening in the future, said, "Man, I need. Why don't we have this on every project?" And that's the question they're going to be asked is, why don't we
Hmm.
have this on every project? And that's where we're going.
Excellent. Well, Brett, as you know, this is the Building Bite. That's building insurance technology with the experts. We always like to ask this question at the end, but what are you taking a bite out of today? Now, last time it was Rudy's Gas Station Barbecue, a staple down in Texas. Is there a different spot that's on the menu for today?
Yes. So last time you definitely caught me a little bit off guard, but I think I responded good because luckily I had something on plan that was planned.
Hmm.
I do have a high school volleyball game. My niece is a top level high school volleyball player here in Austin. One of the reasons I'm here, so she does have a volleyball game tonight. I'm going to that,
Hmm.
but we will be stopping by Matt's El Rancho, which is a famous Tex-Mex place here on South Lamar in Austin,
Hmm.
Texas. That is absolutely out of this world phenomenal. It's got that old school charm. I think it was started in the
Hmm.
50s by Matt, and his family continues to run it to this day, and it's absolutely legendary. And so you don't eat lunch on those days because you're
Mm.
just going to be just going
Hmm.
to be filling yourself up at that early dinner. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
headed. I'll get a couple more things to do here, and then off to Matt's El Rancho, and then some volleyball.
That's excellent. Yeah, definitely know those restaurants well. You plan almost the night before going. All right, my next day, I don't want to eat too much. Gonna start
Yeah,
drinking coffee early, stop early. You
yes,
want to make sure you have the space for it. Uh,
exactly.
well, Brett, thank you so much for chatting with us today. If our listeners want to hook up with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you. So, definitely doing a lot of public speaking the last
Hmm.
3 months of this year myself, getting around trying to spread the word. So, the University Risk Management and Insurance Association, I've got a couple of chapter meetings in Louisville. I'll be speaking there. I'll be speaking at their national meeting in New Orleans. Also, ERMI, hope to
Hmm.
meet up with you there. We talked about ERMI. We'll be at ERMI this year as well too, and then a couple of RIMS chapters we'll be speaking at too. So we're active in all of these risk management associations to spread the word and share our knowledge with them. Always on LinkedIn, of course. I'm very active on LinkedIn at Bret Bush, and then at insightrisk.com. Reach out to us there too. We've got some good information on our website that can help people understand technology a little bit better. And we've shared some of our success stories on there as well too. So any of those
Hmm.
places would just be fantastic.
That's perfect. Quite the travel schedule coming up. So safe travels to you, Brett, and we hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Building Bite. This podcast has been brought to you by Proactive. Check us out on thebuildingbite.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media for all future The Building Bite news and updates. You can also find us on your favorite apps, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Amazon. If you have ideas for episode topics that we should cover on the show, or you know somebody who would be a perfect guest, let us know at connect@thebuildingbite.com.